Welcome back. In this video, we are going to take a look at how to host your own domain server for Overte. So if you have your own domain server, others will be able to visit your domain from the Places app. This is the place where the documentation gets really handy. And I cannot emphasize enough the Overte documentation, despite a little bit out of date at some places. In general, it's very comprehensive. You can find all the information you want from here, but I'm going to walk you through server setting, both in terms of the Windows, Linux, and some other common concepts. So the first thing we want to do in terms of hosting on Windows is to make sure you download Overte. So if we just head to Overte and go to download, you can download this package. This package already contains the server. However, it's not clear from the documentation how do you actually start a server, and that's where I come into place. I come into this video. So when you install Overte, you will have this folder, right? This folder contains a program called Overte. Contains a bunch of things, including Oven and your Overte program. If you inspect the location, you can find, the Overte program is actually referred as interface, and as we mentioned, interface is the name for the viewer program. So, and the Oven is also a handy utility for baking assets, which we can talk about in another video. Among those, the most interesting one for our purpose is the server console folder, which contains a executable called server console. You just need to double click to start the server instance. I have already started it. So as you can see, I have already started the server instance. But let me just try it again. Double click this one, and that will start automatically in your tray, if it still works. Okay, where is it? Looks like it's not showing up. Yeah, so you see it's shown here. So the first thing you do after you create a server is to visit this particular address, which is, okay, I'm a bit surprised it's not popping up. Let me go to the documentation, go to a local Windows server, and visit this address, localhost 4100. And if this is your first time, you are going to go through the setup wizard. First step is to connect your directory service account. This is the account you register with overte.org. If you don't have an account, you can create an account. There will not be any fancy pop-up. You will see a bunch of information popping out here. It will tell you have successfully created an account. After you have created an account, you can just enter your information, click get token. Again, there will not be any fancy interface, but you will get this token. And that's pretty much all you need. And then you can close this one, go back here. It's already prompting for the access token. Paste it here, click OK. And that's the first step. The second one, you need to finish registering a domain. Now here you are going to enter a label for this domain server. This label is going to be very important later on, because that is the label that you will be seeing when you try to open a location from the Places. So here, if you go to Places, you can see that there are those, Overte Hub, Virtual Underground. This is the domain name, and you cannot change it later. I mean, you can, but it's not very convenient. So I suggest you think of a good name, but for my purpose, I can just do My Fantasy World and create this one. And then you can configure your privileges. Here, I would recommend you directly put your username here. If you don't, there will be another place to do that. I'm going to talk about that. But if you put your name here, basically that means the user, in this case the owner of this domain, will be able to create stuff there. Because if you don't do this, even though you are the owner of this domain, you actually cannot create stuff there. So let's do next. And then create a username and a password. Now this one is specifically for accessing the settings page. So you can just use anything you want. Let's say admin, 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 right? And then go to next, and then ignore this one. Oh, sorry. I think I need to sign in first. Yeah. So admin, admin, and do sign in, and then we sign in here, right? And then finish the last step. And here you can just enable automatic threading. That's fine. And then you are done. Basically, you are done. So this is the settings configuration page, which we will talk about more later. But first, after you are done, what you can do is go to the Overte program in the task tray and right-click Visit Local Server. That will jump directly to your local server. I have actually already put a bunch of stuff here, so there are some objects that we have done in the previous tutorial. But if this is your first time, you will not be seeing all of those objects. You will only be seeing some basic stuff like those 4 pillars and the ground, right? And as you can see here, we are already running into an issue here. I cannot create, even though this is my own server, right? You do not have the necessary permissions to run on this server. And the reason for that is because right now I'm actually not logged in as Charles. But what you can do is, and here's the first important configuration, you can go to the permissions, and since I'm logging in from localhost, you can give localhost all the permissions there is. And after you do that, I'm going to do save. And now if I go back, you can see it immediately allows you to start creating stuff or modify stuff, right? So that's the permission control. There are a few different ways you can control permissions. There are standard permissions assigned to different type of user, anonymous visitors, your friends, the local host, the machine you are currently logging into. And the logged in, actually I'm not sure what this refers to, but that's a first way you can assign permissions. The second way is you can assign permissions to give people in groups. For instance, I can have an admin group, and people there can have different permissions, right? You need to save it in order to set the permissions. So, but okay, right now, even though you can create groups, there's no way to assign users to the groups. So you cannot really use this one. So just for now, I think in the future they are going to improve this. So the more practical way is, as we have specified at the beginning when going through the setup wizard, is to give permission to specific users. And here you can see you can add a new user, type in the username, and that is a way for you to configure it. So Mathlogs is another account we have, and here you can see if we give Mathlogs a bunch of permissions, it's going to take a while to click through all the stuff, but you get the point, right? If you give Mathlogs all the permissions, and even if I disable the local host, then I will still be able to edit stuff. And you can also permission from IP address, MAC address. So there's a whole bunch of flexible ways you can do that. The only thing that doesn't work right now is the groups, because you cannot assign users in a group. So settings, that's this part. Now there is one other thing I need to talk about before we jump into other stuff. You can download the domain settings and restore it later. Just keep in mind. So in case you want to apply the same settings in different servers. Another thing that's very interesting to talk about is the automatic backup. So by default, all the content in your domain, that includes two things. The first is all the things you see here, the entities in the world. The second is the asset browser. So both those are what I mean when I refer to all the contents in the domain. All of those are automatically stored in the content archive. So you can specify how often they are. Actually, you can see how often. I don't believe you can change it, but you can see how often they are automatic backup, and you can delete different versions of backup. And that is a way to automatically save things. Later on, if something goes wrong, or you just want to go back to a previous version, you can go to content, which we'll talk about later. So that is the automatic backup. The one other thing that is interesting is the networking. Actually, this is very important because right now, even though we have created a domain, and if you go to places, by the way, if you look at the documentation, it's going to tell you to create the place name immediately after you create a domain, but it's actually not necessary, because even if without doing a place name, your domain will already be available. So I created my fancy word, right? Because your account is already registered with Overte, so this place is already available as a place. So you don't really need to create another place. That is one confusion point that might arise. But as you can see here, if I log in and look at my own domain, you can see we have our domain here. And if I look at the places, you can see we already have a default place for my domain. Okay, that's a UI bug. I think I should only see one of it. You're right. So that is the thing. You can provide description by clicking this button, and provide descriptions here, and click these small buttons to save each entry. So that's the way it works. Now go back to this place. Right now, if you try to actually visit this place, it will not work. You will see this black empty space and say unable to connect to this domain, even though we know the domain is online because we can visit it locally. And the reason for that is, you can see it here, we are trying to connect to the My Fancy World by visiting actually it's not show the full address here, but basically what is happening right now is it's trying to visit directly to this location. And by the way, in case you notice this Hi-Fi refers to High Fidelity, which is a previous name for Overte. So that's a protocol name. So it's trying to visit this one directly from the internet. And inside your domain server setting, by default, it's going to try to automatically update your IP address and the port. If you are using your home internet, which is most of the case if you are using Windows, then your port is actually not able to be reached from the internet, even though Overte is already trying to do some UDP tunneling magic. It's not going to work. So what you really need to do is to use IP only. And I'm going to repeat this when we set up a Linux server. And when you do IP only and restart your server, you are going to see an explicit port. In this case, it's 40.102. What you need to do is go to your router settings and set up something called port forwarding, which I'm not going to show here because unfortunately I am using Rogers, and Rogers is really not very friendly in this, and it doesn't even allow me to set up port forwarding. It requires to use its dumb app, and this dumb app doesn't even work, so I cannot show you here. So essentially I cannot really expose my domain server to the internet. But just in case you are trying to host from your own Windows machine, you need to make sure you pick IP only, in which case you don't need to update your IP address. Overte is going to automatically discover your IP address based on your account, but you need to make sure your port is open from the port forwarding. Okay, so that is how to set up the server from the Windows server. Now we cannot visit this one, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a Linux server, and we are going to actually be able to visit that one. To set up a Linux server, I'm going to use a DigitalOcean server. I'm going to quickly create a server, a Debian 13, pick a general purpose one, pick a good one. I'm going to delete it very soon. Just use password 123. Oh, it doesn't allow me to do that. In that case, I'm going to do something complex. Grid generator. on a UID generator. Okay, that's fine with me. Okay, so I have this random string. I'm going to copy that. And is 10 characters long. Okay, so I'm going to do something random, put in some random stuff, and call it my password. Oh my goodness. Cannot end in a number of special character. Okay, I'm going to do something like this. Put it like this. Must contain one uppercase letter. Oh my god. Do something like this. So that's my password. Give it a name, Overte demo. And then I'm going to create a droplet. So let's wait until it's done. You can find all the information on setting up a Linux server by go to this page, which is very handy. So it's going to take a bit. And after that, you can go to Access, launch the console. Here we have a clean slate. So the way I'm going to show you, it's setting up a bare bones server that is not protected. So you shouldn't do that, but it will work. So we have, let's see, we have the thing here. Let's just paste. We are using Debian 13, works the same way as 12. So I'm just going to do this one, and it's going to download the required package and install this one. So notice this one is outdated. If you want the most up-to-date one, remember what we mentioned, you can go to the release page on GitHub and find the corresponding version here. I suppose something like this. It should work. What's the difference between those two? ARM. Yeah, make sure you use AMD 64 if you are on AMD architecture. Otherwise, using ARM one. So with that done, actually it's not done yet. Okay, I'm just going to wait for that to finish and scroll down to show you all the goodies here. And the configuration, you don't need to configure anything. It's automatically going to start a service for you. When the server is running, the domain server is already running, so it's very cool. And the rest of stuff is for reference purpose. You don't need to do anything about it. So just wait for it to finish and we can configure our server. Let's just wait a bit. Okay, almost there. Okay, good. Now we are done. What we can do now is to log into the console, the setting console. Go to this one, find our port, which is going to be what is our port? This port. I think it's this port. Let me just double check. So localhost, I was doing this one. So let's just put in this guy and navigate there. It's going to say it's not secure, doesn't really matter. And then the rest is same. Let me just quickly connect, get a token, put in the token, put it over here, give it a name, yet another word, right? And create and give Charles access. Next, create a username. I'm going to make something up. And admin, sign in, enable everything. Everything is perfect. Now, even if you are using a dedicated server, you still need to use the IP only version. That's based on my experience. That's the only way it will work. So let me change that. And now we have the network port. And I don't need to change anything else because all the settings is there. Now if I go to my Overte and let me also give Methlogs access so I can do stuff there. Methlogs connect, yes, 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 yes. Right, give it all the access, save it. Okay, good. Now here, if you go to places, you can now find yet. Okay, maybe I close this one, open it again, go to yet another word and visit. And you can see that we are in. See, we are in the yet another word. Except, it still looks black. It's because there's nothing in this word, in this domain. We can quickly dump some stuff here, and this is where we talk about contents. So remember previously, let me close those. Remember previously on my local server, I have the content page here. And what I can do, I have those backups, right? So what I can do, I can download the backup and put it here. And then I am on my dedicated server. Go to content here. You see it already has some empty backup. But what you can do, you can upload a backup and upload this one. Yes. Are you sure you want to replace the current settings, current content with the file? Yes. And then if we do this one, it's going to replace everything on my domain. And let's go back here to witness the magic. Because on my local, I have already created some stuff. You will be able to see all of those things pop up when they update on the remote. And here they are, right? So what's happening to my sky? Okay, I don't know what's happening to my sky. It's loading content. Let me see. Yeah, so you see we have uploaded this version here, and it's loading content. Let me just, maybe it's slow. Let me go to Overte Hub.
That movie was so strange. I want to watch an actual movie now. Yes.
And we come back. Okay, the server is a bit slow. The sky is not loading. But you get the idea, right? So basically that is how you can create a dedicated Linux server. Yeah, I think the server is having some issue streaming the content. But generally it should work. It should work. I don't know what's going on here. Let me see. I have another one which is served in the same fashion. Okay, this one is actually oh yeah, see. So I have another one which is set up using the same fashion, and it works as expected, right? So yeah, so that's how you set up a Linux server. So I hope that clarifies things. I know we went a bit fast, but to recap, if you are on Windows, it's fairly straightforward. Just make sure you do, you open this one, and if you want to reset your server, you can delete this folder. And if you are on Linux, just create a dedicated droplet, and then install the required data based on this one. And then you don't need to configure anything. If you want to create additional domains, it's very easy as well. Just use this command. And then yeah, if you want to have some initial content, you can download the version from your local. The way I work is I use my local as a development environment. So I set up everything in the local, and then I just push everything to the domain by using this upload function. Right? Congratulations, now you have your own domain server. I wish you enjoy it. Thank you, and see you in the next tutorial.